today, and none of them are vegan. However, they have decided that they wanted to try my vegan Banica that I was going to make. And it's going to be quite eventful because I don't normally, like whenever I make it for us, you guys know the recipe. It's more of like a spinachy, more of like whole food type thing. They are looking for a traditional Bulgarian vegan Banica, which is more of like a salty appetizer dessert. Appetizer, like salty appetizer. And we're going to use the same thing that we used last time. However, we're going to make it with cheese. So instead of cheese, I have tofu. And I'll show you guys what the ingredients are and we can get started making it. I'm actually excited because I don't necessarily care for the cheese, but we'll see how it turns out. The ingredients are half a cup of oil, olive oil preferably. Then you'd get a block of firm tofu, 1 cup of sparkling water, 1 cup of any milk that you want to put in. What I'm using right now is soy milk. I would normally use almond milk, but soy milk is the only thing that I could find in my store down the street. Half a teaspoon of baking soda, and I am going to add some nutritional yeast, salt, and pepper, which I have in the last mixture here, because I think it would give it more of a cheesy flavor that they're all looking for. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and get my soy milk that I have and mix it in with the sparkling water. Then I'm going to add 1/2 of a teaspoon of baking soda and mix that whole thing in together. I'm actually really excited because today is going to be our so decided cheat meal, vegan cheat meal as a family. And I'm not so sure if I'll have this. I'm not really craving this right now, but I am making vegan lasagna, and I have not had lasagna in a long time, and I'm going to stay away from like the major cheese ingredients as much as possible, but it would be a fun experience. I have not had lasagna in so many years. All right, so once this is all mixed in, what we're going to do is move on to the tofu. So tofu, open up your tofu, put it in a plate of your choice, and we're gonna get it crumbled up, or get a fork and smash it down. Okay, so I'm going to smash it down with my fork. And as I'm doing this, I'm going to add a little bit of the oil, just about a teaspoon of oil, and some of the salt and nutritional yeast and pepper mixture that I already had on hand. And I'll put the ingredients in the description below. Well, this tofu, it's really fun. It's not happening with my fork situation. So get it into a crumbly consistency, cheese-like consistency, and oh goodness, okay, this is really not, it looks like cheese. It honestly does look like cheese. Look at this, you guys. If you're like feta cheese, which would be the ingredients for this Banica, it looks just like feta cheese. I don't know, you could fool me with anything, but I don't like how any cheese smells. And it's so funny because I never ever liked the texture of meat, the taste of meat. I remember being like 3 or 4 years old and being like, why do I have to eat this? It's dead flesh. Like, why are we eating this? This does not make sense. Why would you want to put something dead in your body? And it was just like how I wasn't raised that way. My parents eat meat. My dad eats meat every single dinner. I mean, a dinner. However, in the past like 2 years, since he's seen what tremendous results we had with our transition of a diet, he started eating predominantly raw throughout the day. And if somebody would have told me that that man that ate meat all day long would have transitioned to something like this, I would have laughed in your face. But he did, and he feels so much better. But he's still not giving up his meat, you know, and he's constantly going through this like limbo, feeling great, not feeling so great. He's having, you know, he's older, so he's having like arthritis pains and whatnot. And I'm like, it's because of how much you're eating. But anyway, so he's trying to make slower changes, but he does see what the changes have been for us. And I think that has motivated him to stay raw or predominantly raw throughout the day. So anyway, this whole mixture is mixed in. So now we have our cheesy stuff going on. And I think I'll add a little bit more of nutritional yeast So this would be right about 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, pinch of salt, and a pinch of pepper. And make it a little cheesy. Okay, so mix it all in. And I'll show you what we'll do next. Okay, so roll out your pastry sheets and be careful because they're really, really soft. So if you're not really careful, they can break into little pieces, which really wouldn't matter. And oil up the bottom of the pan that you're going to use. I'm going to use this big one, and I am going to be lazy. You know, last time I did it little rolls and I rolled everything together. This time, I am in a rush. I did not realize what time it was. I was doing a little workout video, and by the time I realized it was time for me to start cooking, because everybody was on their way, and they live an hour away, so they should be here shortly. And get a couple of the pastry sheets, lay them down. Okay, once you lay it flat down, then grab your mixture with the soy milk, put a little bit down. Then if you have this helpful little brush, then brush it down everywhere. Put some oil down as well. And get some of your cheese substance thrown into this. Not much, just a little bit. We're gonna go a little bit at a time. All right, now we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna get another 2 sheets. Goodness, they're so thin I can barely see them. We're gonna put them over the top. Now, whenever you're starting to layer up your sheets, make sure that you put oil in the corners unless you want it really flaky and crispy. Some people like it crispy, none of my family do. They like more of like a softer texture to it. So I'm getting the corners all done here. And again, your mixture that you have with the baking soda and the sparkling water, go ahead and pour a couple of big teaspoons, spread it throughout your whole entire appetizer. Keep on going around with it until everything is soaking wet. And again, be careful because those sheets are so thin. If you're not careful, they'll start to break up. Now at the end of the recipe, make sure that you leave some of this mixture because you need to pour it all over. And so you don't have to do the tofu at every single sheet that you're doing depending on how many pastry sheets you have. You can skip a couple, then do the rest of them, depending on how cheesy you want it as well. I think generally, some people, like my husband, whenever I first started cooking for him, when we first met, he liked the Banica that I made with obviously feta cheese because we weren't vegan at the time. And even though I did not like to eat any kind of meat, I loved cheese. You guys, it's so weird because when I was really little, my dad worked at this company that made yogurts and like milks and stuff. And I didn't like milk. That was another thing. Like I did not like the texture and the flavor of milk, and luckily nobody made me drink it. They did try with the meat though. So nobody made me drink the milk, but I did like the flavored yogurts. And in Bulgaria at least, we had feta cheese, and it was produced there, and everybody's like, you need to eat feta cheese. You need to get your calcium. Your teeth are gonna be white. Your bones are gonna be strong. And so, you know, like you hear that growing up and you think it's legitimate, you know, you don't know any better. And it was an interesting story. So I have considered veganism for a while, but I was like, but I like cheese so much. And a lot of nights when I'll get home from work, I would fix something for the boys, and then Roddy and I would sit around and talk, and I'll just cut up a lot of cheeses and didn't really think about it. Well, I didn't have the consciousness at that point to think about it. And I had this girl that was working for me at the gym. Well, she was also cleaning my house, and one day she was like, do you feed this to Braden? I'm like, what, the cheese? Yeah, I feed it to Braden. I'm like, why wouldn't I? She's like, you know how bad it is? Like, why don't you watch Fork Over Knives, and why don't you watch this, and why don't you watch that? And so she gave me like this information that my mind was like, well, this makes sense. Like, why wasn't I even thinking about this? You know, it almost made me think like, It is so simple that it's stupid, and I didn't even consider it. Like, for years I hadn't eaten meats because of everything else that's bad for you, and I didn't see the point of killing an animal and eating it. Like, that made sense. But why did it make sense that the cheeses and anything else that's coming from an animal, it's more humane? You know, I mean, I guess if you're not killing it, it's more humane, but you don't really understand what's going on behind the full story. So anyway, okay, let me back up a little bit. My husband, prior to this, had been telling me for 2 years, because he was never big on cheese or anything else, but he was big on meat at the time. So I still cook meat for him, I just never really ate it. And my husband was telling me how mucousy cheese is, and how, like, what happens when they extract it, and what the process of it is being produced into the form that we take it. And I was like, mucus, okay, great. But it wasn't like, I wasn't ready to hear exactly what was going on. And he was like, you're ingesting mucus. That's why you're congested all the time. That's what you're having sinus drips all the time. That's why you feel like all foggy. Well, mind you this, guys, like, after I stopped eating cheese, like, I literally felt like I came out of a fog. So the way that it happened was, he had been telling me this for a long time. I hadn't really been listening, but whenever the girl that was working for me said it, something inside of me clicked. So that night, I binge watched everything that I could, like Forks Over Knives, on veganism, on healthier diets, and making changes. And I was like, you know what? Let me give this a try. Let me do it for 30 days. I mean, I can do anything for 30 days. You can change your life in 30 days, so you can do anything. If I absolutely hate it, then I absolutely hate it, and I go back to doing what I was doing. So I started. In the first couple of days, obviously, just like with anything else that you have been eating your whole life, you're going to crave it. So I was craving it, and I was like, oh, those are just cravings. Like, I can deal with that. Like, I would occupy myself with something else. I was still eating cooked veggies, essentially. And so, lots of salads and lots of fruits. So, it had been about 10 days, and I felt so much better. I kid you not, the congestion that I constantly had, the sinus drip, the mucus that was coming through each morning, gone. I mean, guys, gone. And I was telling my husband, I didn't want to get a I told you so, but I got an I told you so. Like, I've been telling you this for the past 2 years. Like, where have you been? And I started to feel better every single day. And at the end of the 30 days, I was like, why was I even eating this? Like, I had absolutely no desire to eat the cheese at all. And so from there, we started doing, I guess it would be an a healthier alternative, but I started doing like the little ball, like store-bought, like vegan cheese types for whenever I would make, say, pizza, because Braden can have grains. So like whenever I made grain-free pizza for Braden, or if I would, I don't know, whatever I was making, I don't even remember what I was making at the time, but I'll buy them every once in a while, and that's how Braden stopped eating cheese as well. Well, it turns out, I mean, aren't we all lactose intolerant? Alex had never had any of it. Like, Alex had been born and since birth has been vegan, but aren't we all lactose intolerant? Like, you don't really think about how many people you would meet and they're like, oh, I'm lactose intolerant, so I'll take this pill so I can eat cheese. Well, your body is telling you, screaming at you, stop, I don't want this. We're all lactose intolerant. None of us are made to eat dairy after our mothers wean us, and essentially that's what we do. But like, all these things made so much more sense once I had experience on my own journey. And by all means, guys, I'm not judging anybody. I've been there. That's the way. That's why I'm talking to you guys about it, because I have been on the other side. I totally understand. A lot of times we hear something and we don't have the consciousness to understand it yet, and it will take time. Sometimes it takes years. In my case, it took many years. And if I could do it all over again, I'll do it all over again, because now I have the consciousness to understand it. Because a lot of times when you change something for somebody else, you don't understand why you're doing it, and so it doesn't make sense for you. But once you understand it, and you understand it to a point where you want to change, then it's a completely different deal, because you're doing it for yourself. And I think that's key. Whenever you do something to change you, to better you, it's absolutely the key. But anyway, so I'll keep on doing this, and I'll show you guys once I'm done what it would look like. And I'll put it in the oven on 350 for about 45 minutes. and get started with the lasagna before everybody comes. I am never late. I couldn't believe I lost track of time today. So we'll be right back. So remember when I told you we need a little bit of your liquid left over so you can go ahead and pour it on top of everything. So it's about 4 tablespoons that I have here. And I'm going to pour it all over. It's not too much, but it's not too little. So you would get that nice crisp at the end. And put it in the oven for about 45 minutes or until it's golden brown at 350. I hope you guys have enjoyed making this traditional Bulgarian appetizer with me. And if so, please go ahead and give me a like. Comment below if you want me to answer any questions about any of our vegan lifestyles or anything else in between that. If you have not turned on your notification button, go ahead and do that. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you guys next time.